Hey boys, I'm Professor Somebody you definitely don't know, and today for this lesson I'm gonna need to get serious. Yeah, I know, we're all shocked that I'm actually Professor Someone you do know, but today I had to get in a serious getup because what we're talking about is not a laughing matter. Today we're going to be talking about discrimination against women. I'm going to split it into 3 parts for you guys. We have discrimination in the workplace, discrimination at home, and finally discrimination on the internet. So, without further ado, this is PH Duh. Part 1. Discrimination in the workplace. So how many times have you heard women are too emotional to be in leadership roles?
I'm not the biggest fan of female politicians. I think generally we're too emotional.
In terms of like what makes a man a better leader, he's far less influenced by emotions.
Cannot be trusted to lead because her emotions gets in the way of rationale.
You hear this said so much, you'd assume it's pretty much a fact by now. But the thing is, this is a baseless claim, and it's been disproven so many times. For example, in the 2010 study, Are Women the More Emotional Sex?, it was reported that men and women did not differ in their momentary reports of emotion. In a 2024 study, Are Women More Emotional Than Men?, on average, women were not statistically more emotional than men at all. Finally, in a 2022 study, Women Naturally the Better Leaders for the 21st Century, women fared better in 15 of the 19 capabilities of leadership. So emotional self-awareness, achievement orientation, optimism, transparency, empathy, just to name a few. Now, in saying this, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to put male leaders down. In my opinion, we should be equal. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses, so there's no need for us to have these baseless claims floating around just to put people down or because, frankly, you just don't want someone to be a leader. You might be thinking, a few people saying something isn't actually going to affect women's ability to get a job or start a business, is it? Well, yes, it is. In a 2025 study titled Challenges Faced by Women Entrepreneurs of the 21st Century, the top leading challenge for women entrepreneurs among Canada, Botswana, Africa, France, all those places was gaining capital. So what's gaining capital? Gaining capital is just gaining money to start up your business. So this can be through crowdfunding, loans, things like that. Well, this is due to a few reasons. One of the reasons being there is a lack of representation in investors right now. So most of the big investors for starting up businesses are male. And because of these discriminations or preconceived notions and stuff like that, they're not investing in these women's businesses. Another key factor of starting a business or growing a business is socializing with other businessmen, business people. This is another challenge that women find in the 21st century is that they aren't respected as business owners, which makes it a lot harder for them to grow or get these business deals. On top of that, anything that's like a male-dominated industry, so for example, being a mechanic, let's say, the customers themselves distrust the women, and it makes it a lot harder to get business in general. Forget about gaining capital, you can't even gain profit.
I'm out.
What I'm about to talk about is going to be a really heavy subject, so feel free to skip ahead to this timestamp if you don't want to discuss this, or if you're watching this in class with me, feel free to leave the room if you're uncomfortable. So everything I'm about to say comes from this study done in 2013 called Domestic Violence Against Women, an Analysis. So it describes domestic violence as harassment, maltreatment, and brutality or cruelty, and even the threat of assault. Researchers indicate that 30% of the abuse starts during pregnancy, and it may worsen during pregnancy or after the birth of a child. So these different types of abuse include forced prostitution, rape and sexual abuse, slapping, tearing hair, pushing and pulling, kicking, and hitting with an object. So the reason that I bring up domestic abuse in this video about discrimination is because they are very closely related. In this study, it talks about the most well-known reasons for domestic abuse. They include cultural, economic, legal, and political. And all of these reasons intertwine with the discrimination of women. Let me read them for you. In cultural, it says gender-specific socialization, cultural definitions of appropriate sex rules, expectations of roles within relationships, and belief in inherent superiority of males over women. Economic says women's economic dependence on men, limited access to cash and credit, discriminatory laws regarding inheritance, property rights, use of communal lands, and maintenance after divorce or widowhood, and limited access to education and training for women. In legal, it says lesser legal status of women either by written law and or by practice, laws regarding divorce, child custody, maintenance and inheritance, and intensive treatment of women and girls by police and judges. Finally, we have political. It says underrepresentation of women in power, politics, and the media, as we were talking about earlier, because of those arbitrary reasons. Domestic violence not being taken seriously, notions of family being private and beyond control of the state, and risk of challenging to a status quo or religious laws. All of these factors come from the discrimination of women. In order to stop domestic abuse of women, it starts with stopping discrimination. So the third and final part of our discrimination video is going to be discrimination on the internet. So I'm sure some of you have come across it. It's kind of everywhere. There's the whole manosphere, red-pilled kind of thing. It goes for both men and women. There's a lot of toxic advice online, especially concerning relationships. So that's kind of what I'm going to get into today with this.
Ask you a question. Are you in love with your wife? No, me either.
As a man, what age should you consider getting married? 35 years old, had slept with at least 50 women, 100K per year, you're in shape.
The more you do for a man, the less he wants to do for you. The more you consider a man's feelings, the less he considers yours.
The woman is the prize.
Men are the prize because men have to bring way more to the table than women do to get a relationship.
So in the 2025 Men Who Hate Women, there was a study done that looked into posts made by incels. So here are some of the results from it. It said discussion board participants use misogynistic terms 960,487 times during the 42-month period of study. 82.3% of threads on incels.is contain at least one misogynistic term. Put differently, only 17.7% of threads do not contain one of the misogynistic terms in our glossary. And these findings demonstrate that misogynistic terms are used 2.4 times more frequently than non-misogynistic terms. So that's a whole mouthful. Pretty much what it's saying is in this incel culture, women are not referred to as women. They're referred to as any kind of misogynistic term you could think of. So furthermore in this study, it begins to say, incels' commitments to masculine hierarchies mean they exalt some men above themselves, but in doing so, they also situate all women as inferior to men, with women of color further below through the intersections of racism and sexism. They perceive women as subservient to men. A separate study, Incels and Gender Inequality 2025, describes incels as a community that is connected by core ideologies against women. First, they perceive women as being inherently inferior, which they argue should dictate women's sexual availability to them. However, despite this devaluation of women, incels still express frustration with their inability to be in sexual relationships with women. This ideology is incredibly harmful. As well, online discrimination leads to in real life consequences. But these people normalizing violence and normalizing hate against women, it only makes the horrible discrimination, the horrible acts, domestic abuse, all of this much, much worse. To close, I just want to say, every gender, every person has their own amazing qualities. No one person is inferior to the other. We're all human, and it's important to remember that, especially when you go to type something online or just anytime you go to say anything. Think about in the back of your mind, we're all human. Is this gonna do any good? Is it gonna make someone laugh or smile? Or is what I'm saying just perpetuating these stereotypes that keeps women and other people locked in this cycle of abuse? Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening, and since I had so many references today, I'm just gonna put them in the description for you guys. Also, before I go, I totally recommend you read this really good journal I read recently. It's called Men Are Not Wallets and Women Are Not Prizes, and it's by Raz, so it should just be on Google. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you can or if you want to. And love you, angels, and I'll see you in the next video.